Hi, it's Mark from Top Local Lead Generation. We're here with Mr. Bernie Pawlik, Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver, an award-winning auto repair shop, 15-time winners of Best Auto Repair in Vancouver, as voted by their customers. How you doing today, Bernie?
Awesome.
So we're going to talk about out-of-province vehicle inspections. So which vehicles need BC Provincial inspection?
Well, there's a few different criteria for vehicle inspections. First off, if it's a commercial vehicle over 8,200 kilograms or it's a passenger carrying vehicle like a taxi, inspections are required every 6 months to a year, depending on the type of vehicle. But for light cars and trucks, you don't require an inspection in BC unless you're bringing the vehicle in from out of province, or you are or you've been pulled over by perhaps a cop, or you've gone through a roadblock, they've noticed something wrong with your car and they order you to have an inspection. Those are really the two criteria.
So what do you look at during a provincial inspection?
Well, a provincial inspection is basically a safety inspection, and it's also a compliance inspection to make sure the vehicle complies with British Columbia and Canadian vehicle standards. As I say, it's not a maintenance inspection, so to speak. It's entirely a safety inspection. It's kind of a snapshot of where the vehicle's at. And interestingly enough, certain things that we might on a maintenance inspection recommend repairs are not really recommended for a safety inspection. An example would be brake pads. There's generally a criteria that brake pads, any less than 2 millimeters or 2 millimeters or less are worn out. But if you brought a vehicle in for safety inspection, had 3 millimeters in the brake pads, which is for all intents and purposes worn out, that would still technically pass the safety inspection, though we would recommend doing it. But certainly, if you don't want to do it, it'll still pass the inspection.
So,
sorry, Mark.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, there's one area in the inspection that features very large in the inspection. We have a big fat inspection manual, and there's one enormous chapter, and it features vehicle lighting. And the reason for this is that there's a lot of vehicles that are brought in from out of province, from Japan, the right-hand drive vehicles, or some European vehicles, and they don't meet the specifications for Canadian vehicle lighting. A right-hand drive vehicle actually points the headlights in a slightly different direction that can blind drivers in North America. So there's strict criteria on lighting. There's different light placements and things like that. But any vehicle that you're bringing from another Canadian province should meet lighting specs, no problem. And any American vehicle should do the same, other than most American vehicles do not have daytime running lights, and that's a required item in Canada. So that's usually something that needs to be retrofitted into an American vehicle brought into BC.
So I was going to ask about road salt, because that is something that I have experience with. I bought a vehicle back when I was really young and unexperienced, and it was incredibly rusty underneath. And it was from back east. So I'm not sure whether they still do a lot of road salt back east, but it can create a great amount of damage. So what about that? What happens with that when you're finding that kind of issue?
Yeah, well, it's an awesome question. And road salt is definitely something that happens in a lot of areas outside of BC. Well, even there's some areas in BC that have a fair bit of road salt, but back east, Alberta and back east, it's enormous. And it still causes damage, although cars are way better built these days than they used to be. So they don't corrode and rust out like they used to, but it still happens. For a lot of vehicles brought in from out of province, especially from Ontario or Alberta, and they're older, doing this provincial inspection can really be a life-altering moment for the vehicle in terms of that, it might be time to actually take the vehicle off the road if there's enough severe damage, rusted brake lines, and any actually frame or structural rust. So in some way, the inspection could be a blessing in disguise to make the roads safer and not waste people's money. Unfortunately, if you have a nice vintage car that's of some value and it's rusted out, well, that might be a sad parting.
So what happens if I fail the inspection?
Okay, so if you fail the inspection, you have to have the vehicle fixed. No, we can fix it. It can be fixed at any repair shop that you choose. You can even fix it yourself. After the inspection, of course, we issue a list of what needs to be fixed. Depending on who fixes it and where, there may or may not be a reinspection fee, depending on whether things have to be disassembled to verify that it's all good.
sorry.
Go on.
There's lots of inspection facilities around that meet the government criteria, I guess. So they should all, do they all do the same thing? What's different about what you guys do?
Well, I think well, first of all, yes, every inspection facility has to meet certain criteria. We all work from the same manual. I think really it just boils down to who's running the business and who's doing the inspection. There've been in the past media stings where they set up a vehicle with some severe safety issues, go around to some variety of shops that easily hand out inspections. There's some that just seem to hand the inspection out without really even looking at the vehicle. So there's some like that. On the other side, there's some that are probably a little overzealous with their recommendations. So you've got two ends of the scale. I mean, it's really about dealing with somebody you trust, like in any area of auto repair or life in general. If you've had an inspection and you feel like there's just been too much recommended that you need to do, you can always call the province, the commercial vehicle inspection, CVSE is what it's called, and they'll have an inspector review the inspection if you think it's been done improperly. So you always have a backup, and that's something you can do.
So what's different about the provincial inspection compared to, say, if I was going to buy a car and I brought it into you to inspect it prior to me making the decision to buy it?
It's an excellent question. It's really about the focus of the inspection. The provincial inspection is very clearly a safety inspection, safety and compliance inspection. Whereas if we're doing a pre-purchase inspection, we're going to be looking at some other items such as maintenance. What are the qualities of the fluids? For a provincial inspection, I mean, as long as the oil's not leaking out of the engine, it really doesn't matter what the condition of the maintenance or the transmission fluid's dirty is not that important. But if you're buying a vehicle, you're going to be saddled with fixing those kind of things. Certain things like oil leaks on a vehicle are not, unless they're severe, they won't fail a safety inspection. So that's the big thing is the focus on. One is safety. The pre-purchase inspection is safety and maintenance.
Great. Anything else?
No, that's it. Other than if you're needing a good, honest facility to do a provincial out of province inspection, or if you've had an unfortunate notice of order by a police officer, we'd be happy to do a good inspection for you, and we can generally do most any repairs that are required.
So PawlikAutomotive.com, award-winning website. Pawlik Automotive voted 15 times now best auto repair in Vancouver. Give them a call, 604-327-7112. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark.